Hello, and welcome to this short video looking at the upcoming Advanced Fighting Fantasy board game, Dark Dungeons. So this board game, if you haven't heard about it already, is very much based on the Fighting Fantasy game books. Some people have described it as being very much like a game book on the table. And just have a quick run through of what the game will look like. So we have a prototype box so far. And the whole game is going to be based around dungeon exploration. So how do we do this? Well, every player will have a hero. And this is going to be one of the hero sheets that's going to be in the box. So as you can see, heroes have skill, they have stamina, they have luck. Some of them have magic and mana. Some of them have armor. There's provisions, there's skills, and there's a limited inventory. Now, there are going to be 8 of these heroes in the box. So there are 8 different ways to play the game. There's going to be the dwarf, the elf, there's going to be mercenary, knight, wizard, warrior wizard, priest, rogue, and so on. So there's going to be lots of different ways to play the game. And you can further customize this hero with a random ability card. So there are warrior abilities, there are magical abilities, and what these do is they enhance your hero in a particular way. So if you have the armor master ability, it means that your armor protects you more. Now, if you're the dwarf with the armor master, that plays differently to the rogue with the armor master talent, or the knight with the armor master ability, or the warrior wizard with the armor master ability, and so on. But equally, if you're the wizard with learned, that's very different to warrior wizard with learned, and so on. Because there are going to be 9 magical abilities and 9 warrior abilities, and 8 different heroes, you've got lots and lots and lots of different customization options. And that means that every time you play the game, it is going to be completely different. And you can play this game in one of 3 ways. You can play it as a solo game. So you can run through on your own, exploring the dungeon and trying to win. Or you can play it as a competitive game. So it's your hero versus the other heroes, and one of you will win. Or you can play it as a collaborative game. So in that, it is you and the other heroes versus the board, versus the dungeon. And either you all win or you all lose. So there are various ways to play this, and each of them, again, will play very differently. Now, if you are a magical character, you will have spells. So there are various priest spells, there are various wizard spells. And there is going to be a whole load of different spells in there to choose from. So you might play a wizard in one game who has things like lightning and firebolt and so on. Or you might have a wizard who has teleport and other useful spells, lock and unlock. So they can move around more easily, but they're less able when they're fighting monsters. Because there's no one way to win this game. You can win it by sneaking around and stealing treasures. You can win it by fighting monsters. You can win it by avoiding traps. You can win it by, in a competitive game, preying on the other heroes, etc. So there's no one way to win this game. So once you've all got set up and you've got your hero, you've got your abilities, and then if necessary, you've chosen your spells, we then start to build our dungeon. And the dungeon is built using tiles. Okay. Oh, hang on. Got to find the right card there. There we go. Using dungeon tiles. These dungeon tiles might be corridors, they might be T-junctions, they might be rooms, and so on. And you wander through the dungeon, building it up randomly as you go, or as all the players go. And if you do find yourself in a room, you can then draw an adventure card. And there's going to be 100 of these, which sounds like quite a lot. And that is important because in any one game, you might only be able to draw about 40 or 50, depending on the specifics of the dungeon. Now, what this means is not only have you got a whole range of heroes with a whole range of abilities and a whole range of spells, and not only can you play it as a solo, collaborative, or competitive, but you can also experience a completely different set of cards in a completely different dungeon every time you play it. Because what we wanted to go for was maximum replayability. If you play this 30 times, we want every game to be different. And I think the way we've done it, it will be different. And so these cards are double-sided. Now, the top card is going to be covered by shielding cards, so you're not going to see what the top card is. But you might move into a room and there's a Gark. And there's some flavor text to read out. And at the bottom of that Gark card are some options. Do you want to fight it? Do you want to run away? Do you want to try and sneak past it? Do you want to steal from it? Do you want to try and bribe it? Now, because the card is double-sided, you don't know your chances of any of those until you turn it over. So the player might draw the Gark as they move into a room and say, oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to risk fighting it. So they announce they're going to fight it. They turn the card over. It says skill 7, stamina 2. It's got 1 attack. So you have to fight the Gark. Now, even if you win and you wound the Gark, you have not defeated it because it's got stamina 2. You've got to fight it and wound it again. But of course, it might be trying to wound you at the same time. Now, if you've chosen to run away, you roll 2 dice, you need to get 4 or more. Yeah, likely, especially as you're adding your skill modifier. And if you're a dwarf, you get +1 skill. So you're quite likely to run away, but not guaranteed. And some monsters are much harder to run away from. If you try and sneak past them, you need a 10. Now, that's obviously a lot more difficult. And if you fail, you have to fight it. If you try and steal from it, you only need a 9. But if you fail and it spots you, it will attack you in a rage with +2 to its fighting. Now, if you try and bribe it, you have to specify first up how much of a bribe you're offering. You might offer 5 treasures to be sure, but if you offer it 5 and it only needed 2, it's still taking all 5. But if you only offer it 1 treasure, then you don't bribe it and you spend that round arguing with it, and next round you've got to decide what to do, run away, fight, etc. Okay, but then there's empty rooms, there's chests, there's traps, there's Pookie's Cafe makes an appearance. We've got mysterious chairs, magical fountains, portals, room rotators, all sorts of other weird and wonderful things that you might find in a dungeon. Now, of course, if you do defeat the Gark at the bottom has a treasure. And so we have a whole load of treasure cards. And again, there are more treasure cards than you can draw in an individual game. Okay. And so the treasures you find will vary as well. Now, some of them are going to be things like a bag of gold. So you add a treasure token to your hero sheet. But there might also be healing potions. There might be a magical sword. There might be a magical shield. There might be a valuable scepter worth a lot of treasure tokens. But beware, you can only carry 6 or 8 treasure cards. So if you're lugging around a healing potion, you can't pick up that scepter worth 5 gold, 5 treasure. But then you also might not be able to pick up the block of cheese. Block of cheese, I hear you cry. What good's a block of cheese are? Well, certain monsters might well be persuaded by a block of cheese. And so what you've got here is very much a randomized game book on the table. And the replay value of this is huge because you can play it again and again and again and again. Every time will be different. What you also have is a very quick game to set up. You've got some piles of cards. You've got some piles of tokens. You've got a pile of dungeon tiles. 10-15 minutes to set up. Takes maybe an hour to play through, again, depending on how many players, how familiar they are with the game, etc. But around about an hour to play through. And very, very replayable. So you can play it again and again and again. So you can play one game, you can play it as a competitive, and you fail. Pile up your tiles, shuffle all your cards, have another go, try again. And so the great thing about this is it's easy enough for small children to play. My 7-year-old son can play this with no problem at all. And probably even more of a guide is the fact that my parents picked this up really, really easily. And they are not gamers. They don't understand complex board games. They struggle with Monopoly. but they picked this up straight away and they enjoyed it. So I think it makes a great family game, but it also makes a great gamer game. And so we're going to be running a Kickstarter for this in the autumn. There is a link in the video description to the page with more details. And there's also a link there where you can sign up for the email newsletter, which comes out once a week to keep you updated on progress, and also will inform you ahead of time when the Kickstarter is launching. So hopefully you're as excited about this upcoming game as I am, and I look forward to giving you another video shortly when the prototype arrives. Thank you very much for listening.